Good day and welcome to our everything you need to know about Windows 10X. We are going to tell you where to get it. We're going to tell you what it's for. We're going to install it and we're going to run it and demonstrate it. Let's get to it. So what is Windows 10X? Well, Windows 10X is a lightweight operating system that you will source on new hardware. You'll not upgrade to it. You won't be able to change your current machine to it, other than for the demonstration we're about to show. And it is designed to compete against Google Chrome OS. Originally, it was talked about for Microsoft Surface Duo, which is that folding two-screen phone sort of tablet thing that Microsoft has available, but they have just announced that it will be operational on single screen devices as well. So that's what Windows 10X is. Let's show you where to get it and how to get it running on your machine. Currently, it's available on Mega. You don't need an account, you don't need to sign in, you just click the link that's going to be in the information section below, and that will take you out to Mega. You just click this download link and pull down the file. Now, theoretically, this was leaked by someone named Albacore, but I don't think it's much of a leak because the site has not been taken down yet. The tweet that the guy posted this with has not been taken down yet, and Microsoft could easily block this with a patch on their existing Windows 10 machines, and they haven't. And further, it appears to be getting updates once we install it. So I am pretty sure that this is, well, if it's a leak, it's not something Microsoft's worried about. When you set it up, you sign in as yourself, and so Microsoft knows who you are. Now, you could, of course, come up with a fake account. I use my real account. I don't care if Microsoft knows who I am. In fact, I'd like them to contact me. Okay, after you've got it downloaded, it'll be a zip file. Just right-click on it and unzip it. So extract it, and you'll end up with flash.vhdx. Now, that ought to tell you something. Specifically, this isn't an ISO. So for those of you who know what ISOs are, this means that it is not the traditional virtual machine that you might be thinking. This is simply the hard drive file. So let's get to how you handle this. Not very challenging, but something that's not obvious. What you need to do is click Start and go to your settings, drill into apps, drill into optional apps, select more Windows features, and in here you'll see Hyper-V. Now, we're going to spend a minute explaining what Hyper-V is for those who don't know and what you need to get it running. So if you know what Hyper-V is and if you're comfortable with it, just skip ahead about, maybe 30 seconds or a minute. Okay, for those of you who don't, Hyper-V is Microsoft's hypervisor platform, and all that is a very low-level operating system that functions to allow you to have more than one machine, more than one operating system running at the same time on a single piece of hardware. And that makes things more efficient. In the server world, it's very common to have dozens, and I've even seen hundreds of virtual machines running on a single machine. That's what Hyper-V is. Now, to get Hyper-V to run, you need to have several things. First, you need to be running Windows 10 Pro or above. So if you have Windows 10 Home, it isn't going to work for you. So stop here, move on. You need to have Pro, Home, Enterprise, Education, something like that. Pretty much anything but Home. Now, beyond that, your CPU needs to support Hyper-V as well. Almost all recent CPUs do, so not much of an issue. But if you have trouble getting Hyper-V to start, go into your BIOS, UEFI, and make sure that virtualization is turned on. It will be on most machines out of the box, but certainly not all. Once you tick this box on, it's going to, and then click OK, it's going to take a minute, complete the install, and it's going to ask you to reboot. So just go through that. And when you get back, when you're done with your reboot, you can simply click Start, type in Hyper, there will be Hyper-V Manager. Right-click on Hyper-V Manager, right-click and select New Virtual Machine. And you can read this if you want. I'm not going to bother. You can call this whatever you want. I'm going to call this Win 10X. Doesn't make any difference at all. Where do you want the virtual machine information stored? It's just fine there. You can change it if you wish. Generation 2 is required. Now, Generation 2 is hardly new. It's been around for the better part of a decade, so I don't think it's some fancy new thing. It needs to be a Generation 2 virtual machine. So let's click Next. Now, you want to give it a bunch of memory. I'll give it 4096, but it doesn't even have to be a number divisible by 8. But what does matter for the purpose of this demonstration is to use dynamic memory for this machine. You'll see that when you use dynamic memory, it will use as little as it can, and it will grab as much as it needs for peak usage. And we're going to show that that's not very much. So this is just purely startup memory. Okay, let's go to Next. Connected. Most virtual machines you can start up without being connected. This one you can't. You have to put it on the default switch. Now the default switch is built for you automatically by Hyper-V when it's installed, and all the default switch is, it's just like a physical switch. It takes the traffic from your virtual machines and it plugs it into this virtual switch, and then that routes through your physical network adapter on your PC, whether that be Wi-Fi or cable, doesn't make any difference. But it does need to be some sort of network connected to the internet, as that is the point of this lightweight operating system called Windows 10X. Let's click Next. Virtual machine. Well, we don't want to create a new one. We want to use an existing hard drive. So let's click on Use Existing Hard Drive, click Browse, and then we will go, in my case, to Downloads, and we will go to Flash EMU, and we'll select that file. Now, that file, you can change the file name, doesn't make any difference. Same thing with the folder, doesn't make any difference. Let's click Next. This will ask provide a summary, which is all correct. Now you're going to be tempted to just right-click and select Start. Don't do that. Right-click and select Settings, and then go to Virtual Processor and give it way more than 1. So I'll give it 4. I have 8 CPUs on this particular machine. Well, 8 cores, I should say, not 8 CPUs. And I'm going to click OK on that. And now I'm going to right-click and select Start. Let's see what happens. There we go. We automatically get a checkpoint built. And you can see down here it starts. I'll just double-click on it to launch it. And we'll watch it boot up. Now the dots are gone, and we have the solid bar. Ooh, solid circle. Ooh, what a big difference. I know. Very exciting. All right, now I'm not going to skip ahead on any of this so you can see how long this takes. It is not drastic, but they're going to have to improve this by the time it gets released. Speaking of release, this build is supposed to be the RTM version of Windows 10X. This apparently is what's gone to our friends at Dell and HP and Acer and Gigabyte and Nokia and on and on and on. Would like to interject for just 5 seconds and ask you to click like. And if this is the kind of thing you like ongoing, we'd really appreciate it if you click subscribe. Both of those really help the Google algorithm. Also, leaving your comments below, super helpful. Would like to have your feedback and help you out with other questions you might have. Back to the show. As we wait for this to run. There we go. Okay, so that's gone black, which tells me it's getting to the next stage. Yay, there it is. Okay, so we didn't skip any of that. All right, now, where are you? I thought this might only work in the States, but it doesn't. It works everywhere. So you can select whatever you want. In my case, I'm in Canada, so I'm going to cleverly select Canada. So there we go. Select yes. And yeah, that's the right keyboard. I'm going to skip an additional layout. No, I only want one keyboard. Shocker. Now, reading the license agreement, I'm sure we all are going to get our lawyers on that. So click accept because you don't have a choice. Now, personal use or organization use. Now, pretty obviously, in this case, it's going to be set up for personal use. So, but it will apparently have some domain join capacity, although I have not tested that. So let's go to setup for personal use. Click next. And it's asking who you are. So I'm going to use my account. There we go. Next. Now, I've set up with two-factor authentication. Most people will simply need to have a password entered here, but in my case, I have two-factor, so good luck cracking that. Not that it can't be done, but it is substantially more difficult. So, and I'd suggest everybody set up two-factor on their Microsoft accounts if you haven't already, but not necessary. Create PIN. This doesn't work. Well, it didn't at least the other day when I tried it. So I believe that during the initial boot up that it does grab updates. So let's see if it works now. So I'm going to try, let's use something creative like 65437890. 65437890. There we go. Click next. Yeah, something went wrong, doesn't work. So I've tested this with, let's go with close to a dozen pins, doesn't work. Let's click skip for now, doesn't work with pins, but it will. Okay, privacy, I should say. Yep, so now we get to run through all of the GDPR type questions, and I'm going to say yes to all of these. I want Microsoft to know everything about this. I want them to know about the test. I want to help out. You may not want to. And there we go, it's up. Now let's roll through it, and I will explain as many things as I can from what the experience I've had. The first thing is, well, let's just start with the obvious. The start button is there. You can see it pops up. It's automatically signed me into OneDrive, and it's taking my OneDrive information. These are the default apps, but there are more than just this that built in. You can click Show All. Now, something to note is that this is your task view, and you can see I don't have any tasks open. But if you right click on the menu on the start bar, you get nothing. So there is no task manager. There is no other way to get into that, at least not that I've figured out yet. So let's look at the bottom right here, because you'll probably notice when you click start that there's no log off or reboot or disconnect or any of that. That is down in the bottom right hand corner here, which I see isn't working just this second. So that's odd. Let's give it a minute though, and let's move on to a couple of other things. We'll come back to it because that is important. Also, I'm going to zoom this and make this a little larger, 125. There we go, so you can see it a little better. And that gets to display properties. If I right click on the background, all I get is change your background. And this will go out to your OneDrive if I click browse, and it will select whatever graphic you want. I can select this background image, which is a really ugly UR Tech background I built a while ago just for fun. You'll see the preview actually doesn't come up properly, but close it. You can see, badingo, there it is. There's the lovely background. So let's go through a few of the settings here. Again, I've shown you that what the start button does. I've shown you task view. Let's see if bottom right works here. Nope, still doesn't work. Okay, let's click start. And now I can click on Edge, and it will log me in. And I want to complete the setup. There we go. I'll just click confirm. Now, yes, I do want to sync my data. Now, here's an interesting thing. This looks, because it's launched a nice fresh browser session, that I should be able to get to my shortcuts right away, my favorites, but yeah, they're not there. You seem to have to wait a few minutes for it to actually sync, which I was a bit surprised at. I thought it would be pretty much instant, but it's not. So they will show up. It'll just take a few minutes. So let's get out of that. Now, if you try to install something like, oh, it doesn't make any difference. Well, let's just do Chrome, right? So we'll just do chrome.com. It isn't going to work, but I'll show that to you. So I'll click download Chrome. Well, the download's going to work, and it just simply won't install. So there we go. So I can open this file all I want, and it's just nothing's going to happen. So I'm going to save you the time. That just won't work. What will work, however, is the store. So, and I've seen some demos where the store doesn't work, but in my case, it does. So I believe that I've got a newer version here. So let's click start as I've done and select the store. And you can see it comes up fairly quickly with the old dots again. And I can install things, for instance, like, well, let's see here, I can do a search for Netflix, but I could just click on it there. But just to show you that the store still works, Netflix, there we go. Go, install, and that'll take a minute to download. You'll also notice that if I go here and I select downloads and updates, it'll have, I think it's 26 updates or something. Let's close this, and let's click start, and go to Netflix. There it is, and I can sign in. I'm not going to, just as a matter of time saving, but it does work. I've tested it and it is happy. So let's get out of that. You can install any of the apps from the store, no problem at all. I can also, for instance, go run any of the Office 365 apps, and they work quite well. So things like OneNote, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, that kind of stuff, just launch beautifully. So let's get rid of that. There we go. And so I can go into here and I can go to portal.office.com. If I wanted to create new documents rather than opening ones from my OneDrive. There we go. And now I can get into my Outlook. I can get into, well, all kinds of stuff. So let's go down to, well, let's just try to launch a new program, a new file altogether, like a new PowerPoint. Or let's go to Excel. It's even more fun. So let's go to Excel. And I can just start a new Excel file. I don't need training on it. I know how to use it already. There we go. I click down here and expand the menu. And off we go. Okay, so you get the idea that that's the apps that are available. So you can't install custom apps, but you can install pretty much anything from the store, and you can run pretty much anything that you could run through, well, so far as my testing goes, you can run anything that runs through the Microsoft Edge browser, which is Chrome. So a whole ton of stuff. Now you say, Ian, this seems to be a lot of full screen stuff. Yeah, well, I can bring things down, but I can't resize them. I can't do anything other than this split screen. So let's take a look at this. I can't resize it to be smaller. The only exception to that I've found so far is the snipping tool, which snip and sketch. That will run in a window. Okay, so you can see here that the snipping tool is installing. I've seen this with a number of things. It just takes a long time. Sometimes these just zip along smartly like Netflix did. Other times they take a long time. Let's go to news, for instance, here, and we'll see it just sits there. Yeah, nothing much happens. Now, if I go back to start, okay, in a minute, it's going to say installing. So that's just the way it is. Okay, so let's go through a couple of other things that are important. Down at the bottom right-hand corner here, things are working. Yes, I can click compose mode. That'll rotate the screen. And you can do all the stuff that you can read here. You can read this just as well as I can. So location, to turn that on and off. Now, the big thing is this. If I click on the head icon here, I get lock, screen lock, which is fine, but you still don't know where to log off or to reboot. It's just not here. Well, where it actually is right here. So I click on the power button there and I get shut down and restart. Now, in my testing, this fails 100% of the time. I've let it sit for 2 hours before. It just sits after a minute or two. So all you do is kill it and restart it. So it's just an issue that they've got to work through. Restart. Now, I've let this sit, as I said, for, well, more than an hour for sure. And I'm just going to give up on this at this point because I know it's going to bomb. So I'm just going to click power, turn off. There we go. Now I'll click start, bring it back up. And while this is running, let's bring up Task Manager on my PC, and we'll see that very little is actually happening here. So you can see I've got lots of CPU, and my memory, well, it's being used up by Camtasia. Now I just click sign in. It prompts me for my two-factor again. There it is. Yes, my number is 28. Approve, off we go, and I'm in. So nice and fast. And it comes up, and you can see it remembered my settings, right? There's my ugly wallpaper. Okay, let's go back to my Task Manager to prove the point here. So let's go to Hyper-V, and you can see Hyper-V is doing very little. And let's go off to the Virtual Machine Manager. And you can see here again, very little going on, right? Very, very little going on. So this is not using very much. Also, if I take a look at what Hyper-V thinks I'm using, you'll see here when I go into memory at the bottom that I've assigned it 4 gig, but it's only using currently, a little over 1.1 gig. So it's doing very, very, very little right now. Yeah, which is great. Okay, let's go back and see how this is working now. So we'll click start and we'll go into settings. And I see that installing is still stuck on for the snipping tool, which is a bit annoying. So if I click on it, nothing much happens. I'm just sort of stuck here. So I think I'm gonna have to wait for that to finish off. Now, because I've seen other people with problems saying that they can't get into a number of the settings, I took screenshots of a lot of them. Okay, well, the snipping tool's finished its install. Let's get rid of that. And let's just take a quick look at some of the things I was just talking about. Let's go into devices. So there's no device manager. Not that I can get to anyway from here. I can get into Bluetooth stuff, I can get into printers, but I can't get into a full-fledged device manager. Networking, nothing tremendously exciting there. Pretty much what you'd expect. Personalization, that's just your wallpapers and things like that. As I showed you, the background is not changing in the thumbnail there, which is fine. We're going to skip apps for the minute. Accounts, we've already shown you. Time and region, nothing too exciting there. Ease of access, this is your support for people that are handicapped, people that are disabled, people that have people that have issues that with their eyesight or hearing. Microsoft has a serious drive to make sure that these new services are highly functional for people in those categories. Search, nothing too exciting again, pretty much what you'd expect. Privacy, that's the stuff we went through at the start when we logged in. You can see, scroll down here, get more information, more options. So I can go into the file permissions here. Radios if I had it, which I don't have any, it's not a cell phone, so I don't need it. Updates. Now, in updates, when I click check for updates, every time I've done this, it says there are none. So let's go into advanced options here. Yeah, there we go. So I have no way to, yeah, there we go, there are none. So I have no way to see what updates have already been installed. It's just what it is. Okay, let's go back to home. Let's go back to apps, and you can see verified apps, offline maps, so on and so forth. What starts up automatically, things like that. Okay, let's go back. Now let's go into system. Now this locks up a lot. So at least it has for me in the past. So if I wait on this for anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, this may come up. Otherwise, I found that this is just not responsive. And you can see here, it just sits here and times out. So let's go through a few screenshots that I've got. Okay, so let's start off with the about screen because that's the one that's most interesting. You can see here that the build number is 20279.1002. Apparently the first two digits, the 20, are the year. And this makes this the 279th primary build for 2020. And it is apparently what has been released to manufacturing, at least for them to play with. This is the RTM build. I'm positive this will not be the exact build that you will get in products. You'll get 20279.1010, something like that, a little higher number. They'll have fixes and things in, that'll be coming out shortly. There are also builds that are going on beyond the RTM, and I've seen builds that are start with 2.1, and they are the 2020 1 builds. Okay, so that is your build information. You can see it says Windows 10X. Let's go on to storage. Again, you can see that it does bring up summary information. I can click on it, get detailed information. And if I click through the rest of it, I can see clipboard settings. And you'll notice, kind of interestingly, that power and sleep does not include things like hibernate. So that's a bit odd. Okay, and as you can see, I took screenshots for good reason. This just is taking forever. I'm going to close this now. Let's click start and see if we can get news to come up now. See if it just stream it down. No, this is pretty kludgy. Oh, there it is. So it's pulling down an update, which is great. And as I said several times now, this sometimes comes up very quickly on its initial push, and sometimes it takes a few minutes. And when by a few minutes, I mean like 10, 15 minutes. So if you're playing with it, don't be too aggressive because it just isn't going to work. We'd really appreciate it if you'd click like. It really helps with the Google algorithm and makes these videos worthwhile from our end for the amount of time we put into them, the amount of effort trying to figure this stuff out. We would appreciate it. Also, clicking subscribe, super helpful. Leaving comments, super helpful and appreciated. We want to know what you think. Okay, that's it. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.